to exploit the people at the bottom for the benefit of billionaires and to deny climate change. We know what this is about now. It's a choice between being an equal partner in the European community of nations and being the lapdog for some superpower. Probably Trump. Johnson is Trump's apprentice, and everything is for sale. But not us, not you. You know? Are you for sale? Every day, ships leave the port of Tyne with our goods to sell to our European friends. We share trade, but we share much more. We share values, we share freedoms, we share ties of blood, ties of love, ties of ideals. You know, my friends, you've stayed here through the rain and the sun is shining on you. And today is important for that reason. What happened in there was historic, but what's happening here is more historic. We know that now we have a moment. You marched for a final say, but you also marched for much more than that. You marched for the real prize, what we all deserve as a country, the chance to build a people's Britain inside a democratic European Union. That's what we are marching for. That's what we are fighting for. That is what we want. That's our movement now, here. Let's win.
Good afternoon. My name's Claire Hanna and I'm speaking on behalf of the silent pro-European majority in Northern Ireland that's misrepresented in that building and silent in a Stormont Assembly that hasn't sat in 1,000 days. The cross-community, cross-party majority in Northern Ireland for Europe is the most united and the most diverse movement we have seen in our troubled history. We've come together because we know that the European Union, like the Good Friday Agreement, is about compromise and it's about working together in the common good. We know the Good Friday Agreement and the European Union aren't about territory and they aren't about nations, they're about relationships. It was the European Union that allowed the differences between people in Northern Ireland who were British and people who were Irish not to matter anymore. Brexit hardens those differences again. Any Brexit rips through the relationships and the delicate balance that allows us to have a shared future and imagine a peaceful future together. Our peace was hard won, you saw in the video. It's fragile. Those concerned are dismissed by people in that building. They're dismissed by the Tories. They're dismissed by the ERG. They're dismissed by the DUP and their new best friends in the Brexit Party. But I want to say to you here, the DUP do not speak for the majority in Northern Ireland. They were the only party who voted against and who campaigned against the Good Friday Agreement. They lost. We voted for peace. They were the only party who campaigned for Brexit in Northern Ireland. They lost. We voted to remain. And now they're the only party. They say we should be denied a final say. Not happening. We will campaign again. We will vote again. And together we will win. We all knew it was going to happen. The DUP were bought and sold by the Tory government. They strutted in and out of Downing Street, selfies with the ERG, but we knew they were Boris Johnson's useful idiots. And when he didn't need them anymore, he discarded them. They're now just idiots. We know that whatever Brexit we get, wherever the borders go, they make our horizon small. We know that all of the challenges of the present and the future are global. The climate emergency, tax justice, war, humanitarian relief, and any form of Brexit prevents young people having a big horizon, and that's a generational injustice we can't allow. It took international solidarity to bring peace in Northern Ireland, and I say to you, as your neighbours and your friends, thank you to you for standing with us. Thank you to the EU for making sure there won't be a hard border on our island. Thank you to MPs from every party for standing up for that principle. For many people in Northern Ireland who couldn't come here today, it's heartening to see so many of you, to hear all of your voices. And we in Northern Ireland, we didn't consent to Brexit. We're never going to consent to Brexit. And if we don't, all of us together, get a final say, we'll have no say at all. Let our voices all be heard together. Let's have our final say.
Well, good afternoon, London, and I bring you greetings from the Scottish National Party. We stand in solidarity with all of you. I'm only sorry that some of us weren't on the march with you today, and I applaud the million people that have demonstrated and said we are and we will remain European citizens. You know, when you've been out here, we've been stuck in that place. But let me tell you what we did. We stopped Boris Johnson taking us out of Europe at the end of October. And you know, something quite remarkable is taking place in there. Boris Johnson's been Prime Minister since the end of July. There have been 9 significant votes that have been held in that place since then. He's lost every one of them. And I'll tell you what, Boris, we're going to keep the unity that we've got cross-party. We're going to continue to defeat you, and you're not taking us out of the European Union. You know, we've got some experience of referendum in Scotland. We had our own one in 2014. But let me tell you the difference between what happened in 2014 and what happened in 2016. In our referendum, 16 and 17-year-olds got the vote. European citizens got the vote. And if we do get this people's vote, all of us need to make sure that our young people, those that are our future, our European citizens, get that vote. And I give you this promise, we'll not only win a referendum, we'll win it out the park. So we've got a hell of a job to do over the next few weeks, because we are involved in all sorts of shenanigans that are going on from a Prime Minister that is a liar, we know that, a Prime Minister that's prepared to stop at nothing, that we know is going to bring a bill next week to try and drive this through. So we need that unity, and we need to get you to speak to every MP in the land and remind them what Brexit is going to do. It's going to put in Scotland alone on a hard Brexit 100,000 people on the dole. It's going to mean on a no-deal Brexit, because that's what Boris Johnson wants to do, that we're faced with food shortages, we're faced with problems in medicine supply, that the Chief Medical Officer in England is telling us that lives are at threat. Friends, lives are at threat for what Boris Johnson wants to do. So we need to say to MPs across party, we need to step back from this cliff edge. Let's make sure that the people are given a vote. Let's make sure that we find that safe landing place. We will remain European citizens. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. I've still got a couple of fantastic speakers for you. Are you still in the mood? I have to leave you now. I have to say it has been an absolute pleasure to be in your company. I've lived in your country for 25 years, and people sometimes ask me, why do you still live in England after Brexit? Because of people like you! You're the country I love. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've got two gentlemen here for you next. Two men over the last 3 years, every time this country's been trying to be bamboozled by Brexit nonsense, have gone, hang on, stop, let's read what you've said. They don't need much of an introduction. They're a hell of a double act. Dominic Grieve and Hilary Benn!
Thank you for turning out in such great numbers today to come and give us the support which we needed in the House of Commons. We could hear you in the chamber, which is always very nice. We are at a really critical moment in our country's history. We know that we are close to the possibility of holding a people's vote. And we are going to have to do everything we can to bring that about. And we have to do it by that persuasion and that enthusiasm which has brought you here today and which has helped us secure the vote we needed today to continue the argument. We need to lobby. One of the most interesting things today in the chamber was the number of members of Parliament who stood up to say that they were prepared to vote for a deal which they realised was really bad for their country because they felt there was no alternative. There were several such speeches made by perfectly sincere MPs. So we have to persuade them that there is an alternative route. On Monday, or actually at midnight tonight, the Prime Minister is going to have to write his letter to the EU seeking the extension. We will make our voices heard to the EU that we want an extension long enough to give us the chance to deliver what you want. And we will work tirelessly at Westminster to bring that about. Thank you so much for coming today, and I'm going to pass you over to Hilary, without which today wouldn't have happened.
Dominic, friends, first of all, can I thank you for coming here today? Now, I get a lot of emails. I had one the other day. You know, people have said Boris Johnson will get round the act. And the man said, I've spotted a flaw in your bill. He said, the bill says he's got to send a letter, but it doesn't say how he has to send the letter. What if he sends it by pigeon post? So I have a plea for you. On your way back up Whitehall, can you please donate a postage stamp to the Prime Minister so he can stick it on the envelope when he sends the letter and pops it in the letterbox by the end of today. Now, this is such a big decision about the future of the country. We've been in the House today debating. The Prime Minister failed to get his deal approved. We know it will be a worse deal than we have today. We know it is worse even than Theresa May's deal. But the fundamental question facing the country is, how do we resolve this? How do we bring it to an end? Not by forcing through his deal in that place, but by going back to the people and asking them. Because in a democracy, there is a fundamental fundamental question: do we have the right to change our minds? Now, the Brexiteers think we don't. I don't know whether the British people have changed their minds or not, but I know that a confirmatory referendum will put the question back to that, and we will get a decision. And when that referendum comes, when I will be campaigning along with all of you to remain, not because the European Union is perfect, but we have a choice about what kind of country we're going to be. Inward-looking or outward-facing, embracing our friends and neighbours, or somehow wishing to go back to a past that is not going to return. And the strongest argument that we can make is that the European project, for all its faults, has brought peace to our continent. And every single one of us here today who lost loved ones in the First and the Second World Wars, who have been to visit the gravestones of the fallen, the most poignant inscriptions of all, a soldier of the Great War, known unto God, because no one to this day knows whose son, brother, father, uncle lies beneath those beautifully tended graves. Politics, courage, leadership brought an end to conflict in Europe, and we must continue to work with our neighbours if we're going to deal with the great challenges that face our world. So, do not give up. Keep going. Be of good heart. Be of good cheer. And we will succeed. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Hilary Benn and Dominic Grieve. Absolutely brilliant. Right, we are nearing the end, but we have got an incredible speaker up next. So anyone who was here at the last big march will remember
once again, it is my privilege to join you. First, East London, Westminster, Derby, Leeds, Birmingham, and now back again in the shadow of the Mother of Parliament. And I am particularly proud to follow two of the outstanding parliamentarians of our time. We believe that only the British people are entitled to take the most important decision of modern times. And this government is determined to stop us. They say that the decision was taken in 2016. There was a narrow majority that divided the country. It was achieved with a salesman's pitch of lies and distortions. Do you remember what they said? All that money for the health service, all those Turkish immigrants, trade deals falling into our laps. I tell you, in the commercial world, a salesman with such scant concern for the truth would finish behind bars. And I tell you that today's electorate would not buy that. So they've got a new argument: civil unrest. Those who put their faith in the referendum now threaten violence if the people are asked again. This is the language of the mob. And Europe in my lifetime has seen the price you pay to regain control once the mob takes over. And so they have another argument. It's too late. The deal is done. Just get on with it. And there are many, too many, who fall for this. The quiet lifers, the make the best of it bunch, the don't knows or the don't cares. I reject so cavalier an approach. We are fighting for British influence in a fast-changing world. We are fighting to give our children and our grandchildren a place in that world. We are fighting for them. There is only one argument that really drives the government in its opposition to a referendum. They think they will lose it. Far from serving us, the government is frightened of us. And not only of us, they're frightened of Parliament. The strategy has remained crystal clear. Theresa May did all she could to deny Parliament a meaningful vote. I know. I lost the Tory whip in the House of Lords. 3 weeks later, Parliament, on our behalf, won a game-changing victory. And that is why we are here. Boris Johnson followed the same approach, but he tried to sugar the pill. Brexit, buried in a general election. The indigestible hard truth of Brexit, sugared with offers more police, bigger defence, more hospitals. Whatever occurred to him at the spur of the moment, lollipops all round. Suck it, but don't let them see it. But of course, Parliament did see it. So Parliament had to go. But Parliament would not go. The government had acted unlawfully. So now we have the latest attempt to frog march us where we don't want to go. Let's get Brexit done. It is the greatest deceit of them all. Brexit is not a decision taken for a Parliament or for the next decade. It is a creeping paralysis where yesterday's nostalgia distorts tomorrow's opportunities. The very existence of our United Kingdom now hangs by a thread. Brexit will not bring us together. It is the wedge that will drive us apart. Europe, our largest home market, will embroil us in years of detailed negotiations. Every decision will now be decided by unanimous votes of the remaining 27. Trade deals, they take so long because they can be hijacked by small groups in any one of those parliaments or even local authorities, leaving us at the mercy of every European pressure group. They call it taking back control. They dream of Donald Trump as some newly discovered benefactor, when it is clear that the only special relationship that he knows is America first. Yes, we will save our contributions to the European Union. The price, our economy already smaller and poorer by amounts that dwarf any savings that we would make. Yes, we will be free to deregulate. But why do they never tell us what they want to deregulate? What they actually in detail propose? The hungry advocates of rampant capitalism promise faster growth. Who will pay the price for that, I ask? It will be our poorer citizens, our more remote communities, those least able to protect themselves, and certainly no Conservative government in which I served would have contemplated policies of that sort. Will repatriate production back to Europe. They promise that our waters will be restored to British fishermen. Well, some of us remember the Cod Wars, but the difference is that then the Royal Navy had some 50 frigates and destroyers at their disposal. Today, they have about 20, and not all of those are at sea at any one time. Today, brave members of Parliament put the national interest first, and we have won another great victory. And you have come from all over our country, from all parties and none, every generation, every class, every creed, and you are British and proud of it. That is the heart of the matter. Pride in our history, our traditions, our culture. All of this commits us to the partnership of modern Europe. Our voice has echoed across the centuries in a very different Europe. A Europe of bitter nationalism. A Europe of deep religious divide. A Europe of tyranny and bloodshed. We, you, all of us, in our generation, not the history of yesteryear, but the history of tomorrow. And I say this to you, do not lower, do not avert your gaze, look straight, look up, march on.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the wonderful Michael Heselton! Absolutely wonderful. Now, from one legend to another, and we're almost done, but I just want you to be very, very quiet to really listen to this, because it is beautiful and it will make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. We've got a wee film which has been narrated by the Scottish actor Brian Cox, and it's about how marches like this and people like you change the course of history. Run VT.
So many of the things we value, so many of the great steps forward we have taken, seemed impossible until they happened. The NHS was a pipe dream. The establishment voted against it 21 times. The fight went on until a final vote made it real. Peace in Northern Ireland was a moonshot. It could never be. Until some brave leaders took a chance on peace.